Welcome to the stream. When I first started this series, my goal was pretty simple. I wanted to show how the establishment uses bread and circuses, cheap entertainment and sensational stories and wedge issues to keep us distracted from the real problems tearing society apart. But as I kept digging, the story evolved. I noticed something chilling. Fred Hampton was assassinated on December the 4th, 1969, and the very next day, Susan Atkins gave her first lurid grand jury testimony about the Manson murders, stealing every headline. Then just one day later, Altamont erupted into violence. And I've done streams covering both Susan's grand jury testimony and Altamont happening so close together. It all fell into place like a grim puzzle, and I realised we weren't just looking at distraction tactics, we were looking at a whole new theory about the Manson case itself, and how it may have served to shield the public from seeing the Empire's violence at home and abroad. And that's what tonight's stream is about. And it genuinely pains me to have to say this, because most people in this chat have always conducted themselves with respect and thoughtfulness. And in the past, I've run this chat on a free speech basis. I might not agree with everything you say, but I've defended your right to say it. However, as this channel grows and more people join the live shows, I need to set some clear guidelines. If you hold racist views or dismiss the struggles of groups like the Black Panthers, this is not the place to air them. You'll get one time out as a warning, and if it continues, you will be banned. If after everything we've explored in this series, you're still clinging to those attitudes, you've completely missed the point, and all you're doing is playing into the same divide and conquer tactics we're trying to expose, and it won't be tolerated here. Right, so that said, yes. And also the Substack as well. I'll just talk about that quickly. Because yeah, we've got 31 subscribers already. Yes, this is what the Substack is. And if you want to look at the posts, you just go to posts there and you click that. And that's all the posts. And you click into the post, and to subscribe, you just click the subscribe button and give your email address basically. And they're all, yeah, and there will be a Substack post about this stream. So yeah, the overall point of this stream will make more sense if you read the Substack post. But yeah, definitely subscribe to the Substack if you haven't already and you're interested in reading about that sort of thing. But yeah, this is the presentation. We give people a few minutes to arrive though. How is everyone? Right, yeah. So how is everyone? Just seeing if Dawn's going to show up. I have heard from Dawn in the comments she is better than she was last week, but I don't know if she's going to be here tonight. She hasn't showed up yet. But yeah, she's better. I know that because she has commented. She might just be too ill to stay up late because it's midnight here in the UK. So if she's ill, she might not want to stay up so late. In case people are wondering where Dawn is. Yeah, thank you all for coming. I just had to give people a few minutes to arrive before I start the stream, the presentation, so people don't miss the presentation. Oh dear, yeah, and it's a shame to have to warn people, but yeah, it is getting ridiculous, some of the things people say in the chat, and so yeah, they're just going to be removed, the comments are going to be removed, and if you carry on, you will be banned, yeah. Yeah, she's okay, Dawn is okay, because she's commented, so yeah, but hopefully she'll show up at some point tonight, but if she's tired, she might not be able to, it's late here, yeah. Yeah, hopefully she will be better soon. But yeah, this was crazy this week, because like I say, I was just going to talk about bread and circuses, and I was looking at the Manson case, things that happened during the Manson trial that they were using. But this all happened at the same time as well. Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panthers, was murdered the day before Susan Atkins gave her grand jury testimony. Then Altamont happened, and the Chicano moratorium happened during the trial, and the Winter Soldier investigation happened during the trial, and like all these things were covered up. It's crazy, yeah. So it's like resulted in a new theory that I've sort of stumbled upon by accident. So yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it now. Right. Get off the screen for a minute. Who was Fred Hampton? Fred Hampton was the 21-year-old chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. He was known for his electrifying speeches and his ability to unite communities. He founded the Rainbow Coalition with the Panthers, Young Lords, and Young Patriots, inspiring other groups like the Brown Berets to form their own coalitions, all fighting together for housing, education, healthcare, and economic justice. Hampton's success in building unity across racial lines made him a prime target for the FBI. because of COINTELPRO and the war on black organising. COINTELPRO, a counterintelligence program, was a secret FBI campaign to infiltrate, discredit, and destroy civil rights organisations. J. Edgar Hoover called the Panthers the greatest threat to the internal security of the country and demanded they prevent the rise of a black messiah. Remember that phrase, yes. Informant William O'Neill infiltrated Hampton's circle and provided a map of his apartment to the FBI and police. And O'Neill slipped a sedative into Hampton's drink the night before the raid. There's a picture of the informant there as well, yeah. And so on December the 4th, 1969, the assassination of Fred Hampton. 9 people were inside Fred Hampton's apartment. Fred Hampton, 21, drugged and executed in bed. Deborah Johnson, 8.5 months pregnant, dragged out at gunpoint. Mark Clark shot dead on security duty. And 6 other Panthers all shot or beaten. 99 rounds were fired by the police, and Panthers fired 1 reflex shot. And Deborah was forced to step over Fred's body, covered in his blood, before being arrested. And Deborah was his girlfriend. She was 8 months pregnant. They dragged her out by a hair, pointing the gun at her belly, and then shot him more after she'd been dragged out of the room to make sure he was dead. And she was forced to step over his body. And this is like the crime scene, and the crime scene photos totally back up this account that the FBI fired all the bullets. The Black Panthers did not ambush the FBI, but that's what they tried to say. He was drugged the night before as well. They drugged him the night before, so he couldn't put up a fight, and then they ambushed them. It was the other way around. Media spin and public outcry. Police claimed they were ambushed, but the bullet holes told a different story. Journalists and activists examined the scene and documented exit wounds, blood trails, and a lack of damage to police officers. Photos published in the press contradicted the official story and confirmed survivor claims. Despite public outrage and civil lawsuits, no one was criminally convicted for the murders. And yeah, so I didn't put together like a lot of slides of the evidence, but there's loads and loads of evidence to back up, yes, that the FBI completely lied. They were obviously just assassinating people that might become the new Black Messiah. That's a specific phrase that J. Edgar Hoover said. And Charles Manson, they played up his Jesus concept complex thing, didn't they? So like, was he the white Messiah? Because Manson was initially sentenced to death, so they killed the white Messiah as well. Tenuous, but it is a strange point, isn't it? The fact that the COINTELPRO were looking to kill the Black Messiah, and then we get Charles Manson, the white Messiah. Yeah. Yeah, well, it was FBI. It wasn't the police. It was actually FBI that shot him. Yeah. 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 U.S. law enforcement. Yeah, well, it's shocking. It seems like the whole ruling elite really are, and the ethnic minority communities have really, really suffered as a result of this. Policies made against them and all this. Yeah, yeah. There's a mess, all right, but no Messiah. Brian's mother. Yeah, well, it took all the strength I had, yeah, to not to show the screenshot of Terry Jones in the window shouting, "He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy." But this is serious now. Get back to it. Right. So what happened the very next day, December the 5th, 1969, the day after Hampton was killed, Susan Atkins gave her first grand jury testimony about the Manson murders. Her lurid, sensational story dominated front pages. The media shifted instantly from a political assassination to a supposed cult bloodbath. And December the 6th, the Altamont concert erupted into chaos. The Hells Angels stabbed a black concertgoer, Meredith Hunter, to death, reinforcing fears about hippies and violence. Hampton's execution was erased from public memory in just 48 hours. And how many other things, must they have covered up with these 2 stories? And there was a huge spread on Susan's grand jury testimony, wasn't there? And everything. It was a big deal made of her grand jury testimony. And this is where you get like the first story and then Linda's story, but this is where the official narrative first comes out, is the grand jury of Susan Atkins, but then you get it at the trial from Linda. Yeah, while the world burned. This wasn't just about Fred Hampton. Across this series, we've seen how the US was on the edge of collapse in 1969. The Vietnam War was exposing war crimes and destroying public trust. The civil rights movement was evolving into Black Panthers, Brown Berets, and militant coalitions. The state needed to protect its legitimacy at any cost, because they really would have represented a real threat to the establishment because they were actually peaceful, not through a violent revolution. They were actually going to get elected and make change in society, and that was scarier to them than if they had, because they could just send the army to shoot them all if it was a military thing, couldn't they? But they were organising in society. That was more of a threat to the state. In Vietnam, the war came home. Thousands of Vietnam vets returned, many broken by dehumanization training that taught them to see others as subhuman. Some ended up in outlaw biker gangs, drug dealing, or violent crime. This was not isolated, it was a direct byproduct of US foreign policy. The Winter Soldier investigation, veterans testified to war crimes, and public opinion started shifting. The empire was losing its moral cover. And of course, this is what we spoke about last week, wasn't it? The Winter Soldier investigation. What that exposed. And the bikers, domestic shock troops. Outlaw biker gangs, like the Straight Satans and Satan slaves, were tied to drug trafficking, intimidation, and violence. Many had Vietnam vets in their ranks, bringing back tactics of brutality. These networks were interwoven with Manson Circle, yet the trial ignored it. Instead of exposing domestic rot, the state turned Manson into a lone cult madman. They did kind of mention the bikers because Danny DiCarlo testified, didn't he? But at the Hinman trial, the trial for Hinman's murder, there was no mention of the mescaline and the bikers, and the sword that was used, that Charles Manson used, belonged to bikers as well. That was never mentioned at the trial, was it? And all this sort of thing. They played down the biker aspect of the Manson murders, definitely, yeah. Huh. What else is there? Oh, yes. The Black Panthers and Brown Berets weren't cults. They were organised communities resisting police terror and racism, often feeding kids and running clinics. The same forces hunting Fred Hampton were determined to prevent any black or brown messiah from rising. Hoover's exact words. And they killed Martin Luther King, didn't they? And Malcolm X. There was a couple that were assassinated, weren't they? Yeah. And Helter Skelter was the perfect cover, because Manson's bizarre philosophy, race war, Jesus complex, Helter Skelter was a media goldmine. It overlapped exactly with the real fears: race riots, Vietnam violence, radical political organising. So they used it to bury systemic guilt under a story of crazy cult murders. Yeah, he was like the white messiah. It was like they were taking down the white messiah and the black messiah at the same time. So this brings us to the convergence, a convenient scapegoat. All these threads, Vietnam vets, biker violence, civil rights crackdowns, war crimes, converged in the Manson case. Instead of exposing how broken America was, the Helter Skelter narrative made it look like a madman led drugged kids into murder. Clean, simple, no state responsibility. If they admitted, what they had really been involved with, the kids, and what was really happening at Spahn Ranch, then it would have showed the societal breakdown that had led to it, the brutality of these murders, who these kids met by hanging out with bikers and all this, It's shocking. Yeah, motorcycle clubs played a far, far more prominent role in virtually all of the murders, including Shorty, yeah. Yeah, it is a lot to do with the bike clubs, and the Gary Hinman thing, was to do with bikers being pissed off about, the quality of drugs or the perceived quality of the drugs, yeah. So it comes to the geopolitical convergence theory. The official story didn't just hide Manson's connections to bikers, veterans, and traffickers. It protected the empire from admitting the war abroad was poisoning society at home. The state was murdering black and brown leaders to stop the revolution. The violence wasn't a cult anomaly, it was systemic. Helter Skelter became a geopolitical shield, distracting America while the real rot spread. There's a little diagram. So the public forgets, basically, yeah. And also the Manson murders being seen as this Helter Skelter narrative, it was done because of this bizarre cult motive. And it was to do with the racial tension. Think no more about it. Don't look into it anymore. Don't, just consider whether it was about drugs and bikers. And was the brutality influenced by the dehumanization training all these Vietnam vets that joined bike gangs had? This is, the questions that we need to ask, because people ask, why am I so interested in the Manson case? It's this aspect of it more than just the murders themselves. And obviously, I've been looking for years trying to figure out what the cover up was, obviously. And it turns out, I think it is much bigger than just covering up what was happening at Cielo Drive or what Terry Melcher did or whatever. It was bigger than that. It was actually showing up something bad about American society that the American government needed to hide. It was about more than that, yeah. Like I say, when I write the whole essay, it'll become clearer. Read the Substack article if you're really interested in this. And don't worry, in future streams I will return to normal service, but I did do a degree and write essays and that, this is what I do really. And it's like, yeah, the geopolitical aspect, the entire overall impact of it is what it interests me. Yeah. Sorry, just look at the chat for a second. Yes, I remember that. I remember a biker club shows up at the house and moves in at the house, doesn't it? He joins them, and they are called something like the Hell Satans. Yeah, I thought, well, that sounds really close to, yeah, yeah, because they move into the house and Marge is sewing their patches back on for them and all that, isn't she? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is it. He's confronted. Yeah, the real motorcycle gang show up and camp at the house, don't they? Yeah, 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 yeah. Going off on a tangent there, yeah. But I remember the name of the motorcycle gang was quite close to Satan's slaves and all that. What was the names of them? The Straight Satans and the Satan slaves were the two that, yeah, the Manson family were associated with, weren't they? Yeah. Yeah. O'Neill has spoken of the FBI opening two COINTELPRO offices, one in San Francisco and one in Los Angeles. I believe those offices were opened in 1967. Yeah, so there probably was a lot of COINTELPRO. Because I've often wondered if the Manson family were provoked into this race war thing as well, were there people planted there to help nurture this idea, sort of thing? Because there's loads of, allegations that there were a lot of undercover people there. There was undercover police officers, and that is said in the Spahn Ranch raid report. So we know there was undercover police there. But I've also heard they had undercover FBI at the ranch at Spahn Ranch. Could they have been there, helping to, stoke the race war, to make the Panthers look bad, so they could bring them down, sort of thing. So yeah, and I put together, discussion questions here, basically. Was Helter Skelter just a convenient story to cover up a country in collapse? Did the state need a crazy cult to hide war crimes, police assassinations, and Vietnam's damage at home? Why did the media erase Manson's ties to bikers, Vietnam vets, and traffickers? And what does this say about how our system handles crisis and dissent even today? Yeah. So yeah, the questions that all this raises, obviously. God, sorry, just mute the mic while I have some tea. Tell me if I forget to unmute the mic. Yeah, I know there was at least one, because it's in the Spahn Ranch raid report that an undercover officer arrived the day that the Burning Crow thing happened, which stood out to me, obviously. So we know there was at least one undercover one, but I've heard there was up to 6 undercover police and 3 undercover FBI, but that's just in books, vague. Like, the author doesn't give the source and all that sort of stuff, so that could be made up, but potentially there were, yeah. Yeah, where were the motorcycle clubs on the nights of August the 8th and 9th? They weren't hanging out at Spahn Ranch. Yeah, and I'm sure Danny DiCarlo even talks in court, and this is known about, but that his motorcycle club tried to pull him away from Spahn Ranch, tried to get him to leave. And they were really angry about the sword being used in the Hinman thing. And so, like, the motorcycle clubs weren't necessarily happy with the guys at Spahn Ranch by the end, by the time the murders were happening. And like I say, you've got to watch the Aryan Brotherhood stream if you like the biker stuff, because I go into the biker rumours about Tex and all this. and I will talk about that more in future. But yeah, there's the old hypothesis about Tex and Joe Dorgan possibly trying to overthrow drug dealers. And then there's this weird thing that Charles Manson says about Hell's Angels and Tex losing part of his mind in a game they played with Hell's Angels. So like, what's that all about? So yeah, make sure you watch that if you haven't already. The Brotherhood of Eternal Love stream that I did a couple of weeks ago. Sorry, just look at the chat for a minute. What's that? He told me about a bunch of other people Manson had killed. A Hell's Angel, people like that. Bill Boyd, yeah. So yeah, there are these weird other rumours, aren't there? Yeah, but not yeah. Joel Rostow, yeah. Was that to do with bikers though? Was he to do with bikers? I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Drugs, wasn't he a drug dealer or something like that? That's what his problem was. Yeah, it's just like oh yes, and thank you to everyone that's been sending me money through the Buy Me a Coffee link. I've invested in a new camera, so like maybe in the middle of the week I might do a test stream to test the new camera. I've got this fancy new camera that follows me around the room, and I won't need that obviously for most streams. But on the after show, sometimes people ask me about books, and I don't want to get up because I'd have to get up and go over to the bookshelf. But this camera will follow me. So yeah, I've got that, and I've got a better headset to improve the tinny quality. Hopefully, the sound quality will get a bit better. And I'm actually getting a new computer, though I will still be streaming off of this laptop probably. Yeah. But yes, thank you to everyone who has bought me coffee because it gave me enough money to get a better camera. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. They didn't have to orchestrate the events; they just provided the LSD and push into their ideology. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But they used them as well, and the cover story was convenient. It covered up all this. That's it, because the cover story, Helter Skelter, that tells you that they went out and they killed strangers, white strangers, in order to escalate a race war. That's what the official narrative tells us, and that just isn't true, is it? That's what I'm saying. They orchestrated the cover story, not the actual murders. The murders happened for terrible reasons that were because of American foreign policy, bringing a war home and making a lot of people violent, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that, yeah, they orchestrated the murders to happen, but when the cover story was definitely, and I can see now why the cover story was what it was. It was to distract from the fact that it was really caused by societal problems that America was having because of the Vietnam War. Oh, you see the cat? Look, people like the cat, don't they? There he is. You got the questions, didn't you? You all know what we're supposed to be talking about. Don't you, to keep them on the screen? But yeah, that's the shocking. That's like my big revelation after all these years of researching it. And if I ever do write anything, write a book, this will be the kind of thing that I write about. Oh yes, the vending machine man, and he's mentioned in Tex's book, isn't he? The vending machine man. Everyone says it's like Masara, yeah. And also Tex is linked to airports as well, isn't he? He works at airports. And is it Rostow was found dead in the boot of a car in an airport car park or something? Yeah, so it's all strange. Like I said, I've not gone into the Rostow and Massaro stuff, but I must have been intending to at one time because I found a load of screenshots of the FBI report about Rostow that I'd done. So I must have been intending to do something, but I've never done it. But yeah, that's more drug dealing than bikers. We're talking about bikers at the moment, aren't we? Yeah, this is the link we want to get into, trying to find real links between techs and bikers. But the other thing you have to understand about bike gangs like the Hells Angels, they have hangers-on who aren't members, and these are the people that they use to do the dirty jobs, like run drugs and that sort of thing. So if Tex and this Joe Dorgan were involved in stuff, they were not members. They were just these hangers-on. So it's really difficult to find any official record of it. So we probably never will. We'll only ever get anecdotes. People are still alive that remember it. Bikers tend to live high-risk lives. There's probably not a lot of bikers from 1969 still alive, you know? He believes there's some truth to the helter-skelter theory. Preston Gilroy spoke of Manson stone. Yeah, well, that's it. They were talking about it, but that wasn't the real reason why. And they weren't strangers. The people at Cielo Drive weren't strangers. None of the people they killed were strangers. They lived in their bus next door to the Larbiancas. They knew everyone they killed. It wasn't strangers. That was the thing. That was, the story they sold the public was that they just went round picking random white people to kill to escalate the race war, and that wasn't true. Yeah, yeah. Looking at the chat. Yeah, JFK Airport. That's the one. Rostel was found shot to death in the trunk of a car at JFK Airport 9 months after the murders. Yeah. But yeah, that's not one that I've really looked into. Excuse me. Sorry, I should mute the mic before I drink tea. Yeah. Well, they didn't start it. They tried to infiltrate it to shut it down, didn't they? The civil rights movement was real. They had to infiltrate it to shut it down. So yeah, in the end, it was run by the government, but it was real. They just infiltrate these things, don't they? That's why you shouldn't start an organisation and start having meetings and have a chairman and all this sort of thing. You got to plan, loosely, because as soon as you set up any sort of organisation, the government are going to come and infiltrate it and send in people to screw it up for you. You got to be smart. No, they didn't. There's the whole thing about Leno having a altercation with Manson while they were at Harold True's house, isn't it? So yeah, no, they were there at the same time that the LaBiancas were there. Leno came out and had a go at Charlie, didn't he? I've shown the clip of Alice LaBianca telling that story, telling that the police told her this. So yeah, they definitely have. Charlie had an argument with Leno. He definitely had an argument with Leno. Yeah, that's it. Famously got into an argument with Charlie over a pot party. Came out they were making too much noise or something. And one of the LaBianca streams I did, I showed the clip of Alice LaBianca telling the story of the police telling her that. Yeah. The government infiltrates a lot of these YouTube channels, yeah. Looking at Sam Smith. They're infiltrators in the chat. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. You've got to wonder about YouTube as well, because anyone can just set up a YouTube channel. How many are set up by the government? Yeah. What did you say? Anything about the Panthers you didn't? I didn't say anything about I didn't like the what? What do you mean? The comments about the Panthers? No, I didn't say anything about comments about the Panthers I didn't like. No, I didn't. That's not what I said. I said if you're gonna make unpleasant comments, then just leave it, or you're gonna get banned. And no one has. Yeah. But yeah, no, we're no longer going to tolerate it, and this goes for every stream from now on. If you drop unpleasant comments in the chat, they're going to get removed, and you're going to get banned. You get one timeout, and if you carry on, you're banned. That's it. Yeah. Oh. I told you, I've shown the clip. There's a clip of Alice LaBianca, Sam's ex-wife. Not Sam's ex-wife, fucking Leno's ex-wife, telling it. It's in one of the LaBianca streams. That's the source. Alice LaBianca is the source for that. Hmm. Yeah, because I don't like it. It derails the chat when people say these horrible things, and we're just not tolerating it now. If you say this shit, it's gonna get removed. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's because I told people not to, didn't I? I said you're going to get banned if you say it, yeah. But no, there are people that say negative things about the Black Panthers. I know there are. Luckily, they haven't tonight. Just preempting it. Yeah. Yeah. You can't just say what you want. It puts people off talking because they don't want to get into arguments with people saying shit like that, you know. Makes people uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah, what does Sam's ex-wife have some stories to tell about Charlie? Yeah. Did Charlie make porn of Sam's ex-wife? Is that why he's here? Yeah. Yeah. Mark, really, you didn't notice the unpleasantness last week? You're saying you didn't notice any unpleasantness in the chat last week? Yeah, yeah. See, that sort of shit is not going to happen again. About whatever we're talking about this month, this week, it's the Black Panthers. But yeah, people were saying unpleasant things. I'm no longer going to tolerate that sort of shit. Basically, is what I'm saying. Hmm. Because it's only been going 35 minutes. But yeah, more of a discussion stream, and like I say, the overall thing is more of an essay thing than a video presentation thing. So yeah, if you're interested, look at that. I get the questions back up on the screen. There you go. Things to think about for the chat. Yeah, and what they're doing today in England at the moment, a lot of people are still talking about what happened at Glastonbury. Some acts have called out Israel at Glastonbury, basically, and they're freaking out and they're going to arrest the people and yeah, this sort of thing. Trying to crush dissent, basically. That's happening all the time now. And that stuff in LA, the stuff that was happening when I did the Chicano moratorium thing, it's all happening now, still. This is why it's relevant to talk about history and what happened in the past. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, that's it. It wasn't anything to do with Manson, was it, really? They got paranoid that Bernard Crowe had some sort of link to the Panthers, apparently, didn't they? But he actually didn't. He wasn't linked to the Black Panthers in any way that I've ever been able to find. And also, a Black Panther was found dead out on the grass somewhere just after the Bernard Crowe thing, and they thought that must be Bernard Crowe, but he'd actually lived, wasn't he? That's the only Black Panther link to the Manson case, the only real Black Panther link in it. They thought Bernard Crowe might be a Black Panther, but he wasn't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You need to talk to me in DMs, Mark. You need to talk to me in didn't you talk to me in the Reddit DMs once, right? You need to talk to me in DMs about this. I can't talk to you in the chat about it, right? Well, now we've got Substack. You can message me on Substack, right? I'll message you on Substack about this. I can't talk about it now on the stream. Capone is familiar with what's happened. Yeah, I've told Capone about it. Don't worry for now. Capone knows what to do. I'll explain it to you. I'll send you a message on Substack because you have subscribed to the Substack now, haven't you? And if you got the app, doesn't matter if you have the app. Even the internet version will work on your phone or your tablet, whatever you're using. But yeah, I will explain it to you, Mark. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I don't display comments. I don't display the comments. Yeah, yeah. And Dawn, I've messaged Dawn about it, but she doesn't look at her Facebook messages. So unless she shows up here and I tell her to look at her Facebook messages, she won't see it either. But yeah, there's issues. I just want people to feel comfortable talking in the chat, and if they see a comment like that, no one wants to say anything next. It just hangs there, you know, and it derails the chat, and we can't allow it anymore. Basically, yeah, yeah. Back to talk about Bernie Crow, this, yeah. So the people have gone back trying to figure out to who the alleged murdered Black Panther was, and no one has found a record of him that works timing-wise. Yeah, did that come from TJ? I don't know. It was a newspaper article, apparently. We could try and find a newspaper article from around that time, because there are. Yeah, yeah. The dead Black Panther is discussed by Al Springer, Detective Planchet. As Planchet asks Springer if Manson would go as far as to break the Panther's neck. Wow. Yeah, that's what was mostly saying to white Hollywood kids, though. Yeah, doesn't make sense that he would have run with the Panthers. He lived on the same street as Mama Cass as well. I found out. Yeah, when I was looking at it, because in court they bring it up. They ask him, "Isn't it strange that a man of your means lives on such a rich street?" Yeah. How do you make all this money? And he eventually went down for credit card fraud or something, didn't he? It was fraud that he eventually. And Tex wrote on his blog that he met Bernard Crowe in prison, and Bernard Crowe forgave him for robbing him because he's a man of the cloth now. And Bernard Crowe's dead now, isn't it? So we can't get him to confirm that. But yeah, Tex said that he was in the same prison as Bernard Crowe. Bernard Crowe forgave him. Sorry. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. I know you'd have. And what happened last week? The issue wasn't racism last week, right? But I'll tell you about it, and I'll message you on Substack. Yeah. But it happens quite a lot, and it puts people off talking, and I want people to feel comfortable talking. That's all. Yeah. Yeah. Where's my light? Sorry to smoke. It's a hot night here, though. Oh, now I've lost my light. Oh, no, I haven't. Here we go. Hmm. Mute this. Was him cooking masculine, or is it legend? I believe he was, but as someone pointed out, that story doesn't come up until the fucking 80s, apparently. Yeah, no one said anything about that until the 80s. But apparently, yes, that is the lowdown. The reason they targeted him was because he had sold mescaline to Bobby, and Bobby had given it to bikers, and it had made bikers ill. And they had assumed it was bad, but you can get ill from taking good mescaline if you take it wrong. So maybe they just got ill from taking good mescaline, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. Yeah, Sam. Who can tell July from August if you're on the government LSD? Yeah. The July and August, even maybe the month swapped around. Everyone was on so much acid, like in time dilated or something. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. All were the bikers just scamming as well, because that was a common scam. Apparently, the bikers would do that, and they would demand the money back, and then they'd kill you if you wouldn't give the money back. So then they got free drugs, didn't they? Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Well, having read through Mary Bruner's police statement now, that puts the him and murder in a different light to me. Because she says they didn't go around there intending to kill him. It was like they were going to try and rob him, and if he didn't give them money, then it was kill him sort of thing. So why not assume that the motive was the same at Cielo Drive? They didn't go around there necessarily intending to kill them. And they were people that they knew. No, I don't think he is. Danny DiCarlo is dead. I've done a stream about Danny DiCarlo where I got Beckham on as well because he knows he found his records and that stuff about him. No, Danny DiCarlo's dead now, I think. But he lived quite a long time. He didn't like die. It doesn't look like they killed him because of what he knew about the Manson murders. Basically, yeah, he lived long enough to. Yeah, that's it. At 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, yeah. They covered up the shootout between Karate Dave and Reeve Whitson at Cielo. Other wild conspiracy theories. Well, now we've got Drug burn biker gang war pool boy madness. That's the name of my theory. I said, didn't I? That'll be the title of my book, and it will just be a picture of Belladonna's boy mugshot. Texas Belladonna mugshot. Yeah. Yeah, the bikers tried to party. Well, they're not mescaline's not a psychedelic though, is it? It's delirium. It's one up from psychedelics, yeah. And it makes you throw up as well. That's a natural thing that happens because. So if they were really sick, they probably just took too much. Like if they tried to snort it, like it was speed or something like that, yeah, it would make them throw up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ricardo is dead, but he's Donkey Dick. It's still alive. It has its own condo. Yeah, yeah. They preserved it. Yeah. Yeah, the commotion was them trying to stop Pig Dawson writing his own name on the door. No, Pig, it's too obvious. Right, Pig. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for There's 50 viewers here. Thanks for coming, everyone. Yeah, and I'll just show the Substack again. Sorry to go on about the Substack, but I know everyone was here at the beginning. Just have to remove that. There you go. This is the Substack. When you first get to the page, it will show you that. You just click post. Then it shows you all the posts, and there'll be a post up tomorrow about the series I've just done, and I'm going to be writing more posts about Mama Cass. The next one to write up, of course, will be the Pick Dawson stream, and then I'll do the stream about life, health, death, and drug use and all that. And I'll have to write up what Mama Cass saw at Sharon Tate's house, which is a really popular stream I did, yeah. But that is just a rumor. That's not in any police report. But it is said in a book this guy Jimmy Webb wrote that Cass told him that she went up there. And I'll write a Substack about that. And I'll put the link in the chat again for you, sorry. Yeah, that's it. That's the link. And to subscribe, you just click in any of the posts and there'll be a subscribe button or a box. You just give your email address basically, and you get an email whenever I do a post, basically. And yeah, you don't get any spam emails, and it will slow down the amount of posts I do as well. Usually it'll only be one post a week, but I've got to write up loads of streams that I've done in the past that I should have been writing about years ago. Should have done this years ago. Yeah. But yeah, have a look at all the posts. The Mummy Cass one's popular, and the Dean Morehouse one is the most popular one. You're right down over the first one I wrote was about Operation Julie. I did an Operation Julie stream, didn't I? And this Why Did the Manson Girls Laugh one. I haven't had so many views. And the Golden Penetrators one. Yeah, but I said the Dean Morehouse one is the most popular one. It seems. Yeah. That's enough of that. Yeah, and what it is, yeah, an interesting thing about that. Did the state need a crazy cult to hide war crimes, police assassination, and Vietnam's damage at home? It does explain why they put so much emphasis on this wacky conspiracy, the race war theory. And though, yes, they really were talking about that at the ranch, it seems like a flimsy motive, doesn't it? And it was a flimsy motive. There was more to it than just that, yeah. But they needed it because if you found out that it was to do with bikers and war veterans and all this sort of shit, it made American society look really bad, didn't it? Better to have it look like they were lone nut jobs and a cult crime, and he was some kind of messiah or something. Yeah. Oh, do you like the Bubba Cass one? Yeah, that's the Bubba Cass one. It's the next one I've done. Tomorrow there will be the one that's summing up this whole series, basically. But I've got to do the next Mama Cass one I do will be the Pick Dawson one, and I've got to do a stream about the Substack about the Canadians, haven't I? Oh, and I've renamed that playlist Tom Harrigan and Billy Doyle, and I've put in brackets the Canadians, so you can find all the streams I've ever done about them. Because that was another thing that got me hooked on the Manson case, was the side characters like that. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah, well, it is intriguing, isn't it? And it's sad as well. Sad to hear how she was treated, isn't it? And yeah. But she achieved a lot in her life as well, though. I hate having to dwell on the negative aspects of her life because she did achieve a lot for a woman in her situation at the time. Hmm. Yeah, well, she did have a lot of fucking gangsters hanging around, didn't she? Yeah, that's the thing. She did seem to like hanging around with these dudes, didn't she? Yeah. Though they were probably just using her as an into Hollywood as well, weren't they? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Hammer guy. That's Terence Cooksley, the guy they beat with the hammer handle. He's their pool boy that robbed them of $8,000 of coke money, and they took him into the Hollywood Hills and beat him with a hammer. Yeah, but he liked it, so they stopped. I was like, what the hell did I just read? Yeah, that's it. The weakness for the casting Canadians rabbit hole. Yeah, it's them. Like I say, I found out about Bill Littler as well, which is a Billy Doyle's business partner back in Toronto. And they had a connection to the Toronto Vagabonds, the Canadian bike gang. So yeah, it's crazy. Mm. 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 Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, she was a fun person and she was hospitable and kind to everyone, weren't she? She fed everyone and all that. Yeah. Yeah. You make BLTs with it. Yeah, and Susan Atkins says in her books that Cass taught her to make BLTs, the best BLT sandwiches, yeah. Mm. Sorry, that was a good comment. Got that shit by. It's ironic that Capone is accusing someone of being a gangster, yeah. Yeah. Who looked up Cass? Oh, I don't know his name. He was just a session guitarist though, because I assumed it would be Pick Dawson. But no, it's just some session guitarist that she slept with, basically. Yeah, that they worked with on the road. Yeah, yeah. And he wasn't famous. Yeah, yeah. Was he a bass player or a guitarist? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, but he was just a musician that they worked with, and he was no one famous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it wasn't Pick or Denny. Yeah, yeah. But I did find out, and it's in her biography. It is in the book, "Dream a Little Dream of Me" by Eddie Fiegel. I think you pronounce her surname. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. There's a stream that China Phillips did, where she talks to Mama Cass's daughter, and Mama Cass's daughter talks about meeting her dad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it wasn't Billy either. She wasn't Billy's kid, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, he'd met them with the Manson family, wouldn't he? He was hanging out with the Manson family. That's how Roger Smith would have met Dean Morehouse. And Ruth, through Ruth, that she was Ruth's dad. Yeah. Oh, you were saying Vincent Glass. Did anyone watch Neil Young at Glastonbury yesterday? I saw it last night. His guitar playing was a bit off, but it was pretty good. It was wasn't too bad. Yeah, yeah. But Neil Young played last night, and he wasn't bad. Unsurprisingly, he didn't say anything about Charles Manson. No, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Glastonbury was really mean to Israel this year, and they're crying about it. Yeah, yeah. What has that made American news? Have you seen that in America, or are you just seeing it from my timeline? But yeah, no, two bands have said stuff about Israel, and they're calling it hate speech, and they're going to arrest them and all this shit. Yeah, so it's God. I don't know. I know that Pick Dawson threatened to cut her with a razor if she called the police about her giving her sister heroin, didn't she? Did she like Billy? Did she? Does sound like Billy was nicer to Cass than Pick Dawson was. But Pick Dawson was the one she really had a relationship with, and he treated her badly. Just came and went whenever he wanted and all that. Yeah, didn't give her what she really wanted. Yeah, Dream a Little Dream of Me is the biography of Mama Cash. Yeah, it's worth reading. You can read it on archive.org, or it's easy to buy. You can find it on all the sites where you'd buy books. By Eddie Fiegel. I recommend it. I only read out the bits about Billy Doyle and Pick Dawson and her health because I wanted to make the point. I don't think she was murdered because people speculate she was killed because of what she knew about the Manson case. But if you look at her overall health, it's not surprising that she died when she did, how she did. They didn't need to kill her, basically. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been going 55 minutes now, which is pretty long for me, so I could end this and go to an after show. But yeah. Wait. If you're really interested in this sort of thing, then you'll like the Substack article I write about it. So look at the Substack. Subscribe to the Substack. And yeah, like I say, I might do a midweek stream to show the new camera because I'm going to get a new camera that follows you around the room. And but obviously, I won't use that in streams, but it'll be convenient for if I want to walk to another part of the room for after shows and all that sort of stuff. But the picture should be better. And the headset, and I just want to test everything out, obviously, before I do a big stream. Did he do Revolution Blues? I don't think he did. No. He did a lot of songs that I didn't recognise, like, because they must be his newer songs. Like, but then towards the end, he did do more. He did Needle and the Damage Done, and he did Harvest, and he did oh Old Man. Obviously, he did, and that yeah, he did a few things. Yeah, yeah. The camera follows you around. Yeah, it moves with you, and hand gestures. Like if I go like that, it will go over there and all that sort of shit. Yeah. And I can set it so it doesn't follow me into certain parts of the room. So if there's a bit with clutter, I can set it so it stops. It doesn't show you the clutter and stuff like that. It's funny. No, that's it. No, Neil Young didn't make any anti-Israel statements. No. Yeah. They probably warned him not to. Yeah. 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 What? Did you put the psychedelic mushrooms on the pizza? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't recognise him. Yeah, there was a few, and there was the ones where he was shouting into a different mic like it was a loud hailer. That was a little bit strange, wasn't it? But it's like, yeah, okay, Neil, whatever. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're Canadian, aren't you? Yeah, fucking hell, I forget. Yeah, Neil Young is actually Canadian as well. Sugar Mountain, he did Sugar Mountain. He opened with Sugar Mountain. My dad sings that song. And that's about when he lived in Canada, in the mountains in Canada. Yeah, yeah. No, I haven't bought the chair, but I don't need a chair like that now. Really, doesn't matter. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, I'll end this now and I'll do an after show and we'll chat more. And next week, not entirely sure what I'm going to do next week yet, but I do want to go into the gang aspect because I found out something interesting about how much they did know about gangs and how gangs worked in 1969 70 when this case was being tried, and how much they had to cover that up as well because it also shows societal rot. The fact that these girls were recruited by a pimp on the streets. They didn't want that being so heavily studied and all that. But I want to get into the fact that these studies did exist that sound really familiar for the methods of older men gathering young kids on the street and that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, right. I'll end this then, and yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the stream if you haven't as well. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next week or in the after show if you're there.